find ways to better improve our communications with the crew. So today we have uh, our asset management use case. I want to introduce to Cam and Kojo. They're from Mondelez and Levery Digital, and they've got a really cool use case that I can't wait to show you all because it uses both desktop and mobile. We tested it out earlier. It seemed to be working. I hope it does work today again. So it's very interesting how they're going to show you all this stuff. So I want to go ahead and just, continue to pass it on. I know we've got a lot of things happening today, so we want to make sure to use our time wisely. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and passing it over to Kojo and Cam.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me get my screen shared.
Super excited to be here. Thank you.
I think there we go. Uh-oh. First issue. I gotta allow screen sharing with Zoom because I don't normally use Zoom, so give me one moment.
Yeah, that happens.
It's actually making me quit and reopen. So first hiccup already.
Oops.
There you go. I can still the screen
I
here.
will be right back though, just in case.
Can you see the screen, everyone?
Yes.
Awesome. I can get us kicked off to start. Hopefully, it's in the presentation mode. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, just a very very brief intro. We're not salespeople, so we're not going to sell you on anything. But just to give a background on ourselves, um, Kojo and I have been working with Mondelez Nabisco for the past combined 20 years. I've been there for 8 years. He's been there for 12 or 13 at this point. And over the past 5 years, we discovered Quickbase. We built a ton of stuff for our teams in it. We got so excited about it, and we wanted to stretch our legs out a little bit further. So we started our own like partner program or partner business, working with Quickbase to help other companies. And so that's where we're at now. So we're presenting today on behalf of Levery. But what we're going to show you is a real use case that we built out at Mondelez, and then we built a new version that we're going to actually publish on the exchange so that everyone hopefully can have access to it. It's free to download. Um, we'll have to go through the right approvals and all that stuff, but that's what we're going to demonstrate today. That's the goal. We're huge advocates of the mobile capabilities of Quickbase. At Mondelez, we worked at in our distribution centers, and we had about 50 across the country. So warehouses with our own employees, about 3,000 employees across the country. And we built a lot of the Quickbase apps initially for like the management team, the supervisors who have laptops and all that stuff. But eventually we started leveraging the native Quickbase mobile app, and we found it to be like one of the most underutilized, impressive things that we had. So we got super excited. We started doing the small tweaks that you need to do to make it work really well and look great on a mobile app. Natively, it does a lot of that stuff off the bat, but so we got to do all of that. Then we shipped out tablets across all of the warehouses in the country, and this was one of our like first use cases was this asset manager. When Kojo jumps back on, he could probably give you like a
I'm,
better
I'm here now.
perspective. But oh, there you go. Okay, perfect. Um, but
Uh,
yeah,
Yeah, thank you, Kim, for taking over. But yeah, super excited to be here, everyone. And as Kim mentioned, this or I'll say a version of this is something that we used in Mondelez, and then when we recreated it, that's when we kind of got to add in some enhancements, and we'll probably end up downloading it if it becomes available in the exchange and being able to use it and kind of upgrade our current processes. And then to Cam's point as well. And as all of you know, we just love Quickbase's iterative nature, where like apps are really never done. They're just always getting better. Whether it's the new releases that come out or different ideas from users, either end users or managers trying to get different reports or seeing things a different way. So just one of the reasons we love Quickbase so much, just the easiness and how awesome we can make it for the end users.
All right, let's jump into it.
So going into it, just highlighting a few of the key features. One of it is, as I was just saying, the frictionless user experience. So it's seamless and user friendly, at least from our standpoint and from our end user standpoint. We use QR codes, and that was one of the enhancements that we're going to add. So automatically generating the QR codes within the Quickbase app that we can stick in, kind of like think of like a luggage holder. That'll be assigned to these assets. Some of the smaller assets, like if we wanted to manage the tablets and other smaller devices, we could just use a label printer with the same QR code to conduct those audits or inspections as needed. And then there's what we call a mobile action bar. Once a user scans the device or asset with either a phone or a tablet, it'll take them to just two quick options, trying to make that mobile use as quick and easy as possible. And then from there, they're going to decide what they want to do, whether put in a service request or conduct an audit on the asset. One of the other cool features that we really liked is the smart scheduling, and this might seem super basic, but it's just a formula to let everyone know when the next audit is and when the next PM or preventative maintenance appointment due date is. So that's based on pre-defined schedules that you'll all see in the asset types table. And then finally, I think my favorite is the dynamic status indicators. And what that is, it's and we have a few of them throughout the app. They're rich text fields that take in multiple different fields so that rather than looking at a report in the rows, kind of like as we would in Excel, we're getting all of the information we need in a user-friendly way, just using one field. So you can kind of find out a lot of information about what's going on with a specific asset just at a glance. And then kind of the way that we set this up is we call them at Mondelez user journeys. So looking at the different roles, how they're going to access the application and interact with it, what those use cases could look like, and then what the benefits are compared to our former processes. So the first is on the shop floor, and as I mentioned, kind of like a luggage tag holder, and this is an AI generated image, not a true leak, but it is a forklift leaking. So in the old way of doing things, right? Somebody would see this, they would probably try to clean it up first, and then go back into the office area if the manager's not already out on the floor to report it. Then the manager would reach out to whoever the maintenance provider is and try to get them out either via phone call or email. In this new process, we're able to scan this QR code, and Cam's going to pull up his iPad shortly to kind of show you what the process could look like. But from there, they could input service issues, conduct audits, making sure that we have the assets, which is something that we are required to do by our finance teams. Review the audit details on the go by any mobile device. And at Mondelez, one of the really cool things that Kim actually led was enabling all of the warehouse devices that we have. So not just phones and tablets, but RC scanners, different devices that we use for picking to also have the Quickbase application on them. So in any given warehouse, if there's 10 devices that we're normally just using for one use case, we are now fully connected all throughout the warehouse to have all of these individuals who have all of these devices be able to tap into Quickbase apps on the go as well too. And then as far as benefits, it's the ability to have an audit trail to check who did what and when. And we can get that from the users, the managers, and the service providers as they're checking into our equipment, following up on service calls, etc. So, Kim, do you want to switch over to the iPad?
Yes, let's do it. Exit here, switch to this. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. So yeah, Kojo, you want to go? You want me to do
Uh,
it?
Sure, I can walk through. So this is what the user first gets when they scan the QR code on any asset, whether it's on the back of an asset or a hanging tag. And this is what we call these two buttons, the mobile action bar. And one of the features, not sure if we're going to keep it in the final version or not, but initially just shows you what the asset is, and then when the next PM, preventative maintenance appointment, and the next audit date is. So excuse these way overdue asset audits and PMs. This is just sample data in here. But from there, you can also open up the details on the asset. So we have the asset vitals, which has a service life bar, and then there's another indicator showing whether an audit or PM is due that we use in a different portion of the app. And then down below is what we call like an asset feed. So all the details, different check-ins from a maintenance provider. If they inputted any notes, it would then show here, and that would elongate the form. Um, in addition, the asset details down below what Cam just opened up. An image, picture of the asset, and then providing other details of the asset when it was last conducted. So if you want to jump into the green button audit asset cam, and this is just going to open up a form for the user to audit that asset. And this is also using secure link functionality. And I know Mark was presenting on this. Everybody knows the famous Mark Schneer presenting on this early December. We're using the same functionality here, something that we really love at Mondelez. We use it for our drivers who are out on the road, who do have Mondelez IDs, but we don't want to trouble them with another device that they or another system that they have to log into regularly. They're already using a few different third-party applications every day. So secure links is one of the ways that we get around a lot while keeping things secure at Mondelez. So for this asset, Cam, you can go ahead and input the condition. Current mileage, it seems like an old one, so maybe 750,000 miles on this trailer. We would normally add in pictures. We're not going to now since we're not at the branch or in the field. You'd be able to enter in the notes, findings, and then the results of the asset. And it's also going to tell you, based off of the date of the asset, how many days the audit is overdue. From there, under asset details, it would show you any past completed audits. And then from there, you can go ahead and save. Okay. And it's going to register. We don't have the notifications enabled right now, but they are set up to immediately notify if the supervisor or manager wants to get a notification or if they just want a subscription report on a weekly or monthly basis. The other option, very similar, is a service request. So we can go ahead and try that option as well too. And we'll put it in as a preventative maintenance task. So the location where it's being conducted, who it's reported by, and we decided not to use users since the warehouse associates are not normally signed into the program, and since we're using secure links for this. Current location of the asset, just where the trailer's parked, so it could be parking space 24 as an example. And we'll skip the issue category since it's a preventative maintenance. The individual performing the PM activity could put in an issue description and pictures. We'll skip both of those for now. And then if they want to receive a copy of it, they can input their email details here, and it will trigger a notification for them, capture that in the details to send them a custom notification. All right. So if we go back to this asset, and I think it's just registering, but we can see the audit that was formerly past due. It's now due in 90 days, and the PM, I thought I just fixed this yesterday. It should be refreshing or should be updating. So a hiccup there, but a small tweak, just not capturing the data. Maybe just a refresh on my end, but we'll double check on that on my end. My apologies.
Might be cache potential.
Potentially. Okay. So, Kim, do you want to flip over to the dashboard from the mobile perspective?
Yeah, this is my favorite.
Oh,
I get super
thank you,
excited.
Wes.
um, yeah, so it's not always just scanning a QR code. If you're a supervisor at the site, maybe you want to get a different perspective. And I don't know who leverages mobile dashboards currently, but it is like one of my favorite features in Quickbase. I think it's just a great way for people to access the tools. And Kojo, feel free to dive into specifics, but um, I love
Sure.
it. This is my favorite.
Yes. So, and I'm sure most of you are familiar, but these are just the gauge reports, stylized in just showing the number of outstanding units related to whatever areas. So the ones overdue for audit, obviously that's going to, if you were to click on that, that would drill down into that report showing the 126 units overdue by location. If the users were set up and were signed in, those users assigned to that specific location, of course, would be set up to only see the ones pertaining to their location. Same for overdue for PM and assets that were marked as lost or missing. Obviously, those will drill down into those specific assets so the user can find them. Um, from there, we have a button that's just my asset tags, something that we added, and it's just a way for a manager or whoever to print out the asset tags. If it's the first time setup and they wanted to print out all of the QR codes to label their assets, they would go to my asset tags, and it would give them a listing of all of those that they would be able to print out and stick along with the asset. We'll skip the desktop view for now, which is just a different dashboard. For desktop users, it's just set up slightly differently to go with the flow and what we would use in a desktop view. One of our favorite features that we use in a lot of different apps when we're either changing statuses, just like this from here, or we also use it with some integrated Lean Six Sigma tools like doing fishbone exercises or five whys, is the Kanban reporting. So this is just a really easy way, and I think it's honestly best used with a touchscreen mobile device, just to slide units over, super visually appealing. We also have smart boards in a couple of our branch locations, where it's just awesome to pull up a Kanban report while working with a team and slide things over from one area to another, depending on whatever the use case is. This is one of our absolute favorite features within Quickbase. And then from there, as you go down, there's just different reports looking at the assets, how they're utilized, whether it's cost reporting, different functionality, and also a big fan. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 months ago when QuickBase came out with a bunch of new reporting styles or different chart styles and everything. And then down from there is just the listing of some assets that need attention, whether they're still in repair or need to be turned in down below. All right. So moving on to the location dashboard, we have the maps. So depending on the size of your operation, maybe maps might be an interesting feature to have, maybe not. But this is something that we definitely love to use. Kim mentioned we have almost 50, well, over 50 locations if we include the RDCs. So nice to pull it up on a map, even especially when planning for weather issues or BCP plans, business continuity plans, seeing which locations would be able to help out, which are nearest by. So we do love the map features and being able to hover over and jump specifically there from a map view, especially when collaborating with teams. And then further down, just a couple of different reports relating to the assets and different things that we like to see when we're reporting on them. And then we can jump over to the last tab, which is just the compliance insights for the assets, the ones that are upcoming and overdue for audits. And of course, we could do the same thing for PMs as well too. All right. So obviously, in addition to mobile, one of the other use cases that we were sharing obviously would be either a finance manager or a shift supervisor or a facility manager, or even a region director, being able to utilize this app from a PC or even a tablet, just depending on whatever setup is best for them, or if they're on the go, or if they're sitting in their office or at home, wherever. So I will try again to steal the screen here, and take over from Cam to
That sounds
share
great.
from the desktop perspective.
And while you do that, a couple shout outs to some other mobile features that have gotten some updates the past few weeks or maybe months. Embedded forms, if you have like or embedded reports within forms. I'm not sure if folks use mobile that much, but one of the best things that I think has come out for us at least is now when you're inside of a record in a form and you have an embedded report there, if you want to, like, let's say add a child record, you can do that, press a plus button directly on that report, and it pops up with a modal rather than forcing you to leave the screen. So it has like a nice little pop-up you can save, and then it refreshes the report on the spot. Um, it's it's like a low, maybe something that most people may not notice unless you're using that kind of thing over and over. But we've got some branches across the country that will be doing that exact exercise close to 30 to 50 times a day. And since that has been updated, it's been a massive improvement. So just shout out to whoever has worked on that. We really appreciate that.
I think Paulina's on the line, or she's on our call, so she's been working.
I'm here.
Yeah, so shout out to Paulina and her team.
Thank you, Galena.
Thank you.
I just want to say, sorry to interrupt, but just want to say that I really appreciate you guys showing this because we don't get to see it that often. So, and you're very brave for the demos. Love it.
We could do it all day. I've got like 10 apps that I'd love to show one day. Specifically awesome for mobile. They're so cool.
Awesome. So, I don't know, is everybody able to see my screen? Right. Okay. So this is just the desktop view. So same reporting, slightly different setup, obviously, because it's on desktop. So not going to go through all of them, but just a slightly different setup, just because it's a different user experience, right? But love the fact that depending on the device the user's on, you can set up a different dashboard either automatically. We put the button here just for transition purposes. But it is kind of a native feature within Quickbase, depending on what the user is signing into, that it's going to show a certain dashboard or not, which we also love. So not going to go through all of the features, but one of the ones that I just wanted to highlight as well. And this is kind of going back to what we do at Mondelez with our finance team, looking at the depreciation of all the assets. So this is just a formula for us, but this is an asset depreciation report. So being able to identify both the current book value of our assets, dependent on the depreciation method that we're using. This is something I know our finance team is really going to love, because They are currently doing it all in Microsoft Excel, and the process that they do annually for this is a huge headache for the branch teams and the warehouse teams. Every year, around the busiest time of the year for our business, and we're in the cookie and cracker industry, which really has a spike between Thanksgiving and Christmas, between Oreos and Chips Ahoy and Wheat Thins and Triscuits. They're asking all of us to conduct audits on the assets that we hold in warehouses. So instead of doing that once a year audit, depending on whatever the setup is, whether they want us to conduct the assets quarterly, semi-annually, hopefully not monthly, but or just one time a year, we can do that at any frequency. So if an audit's conducted in August, they're not going to need it again in December. So they kind of have a rolling update that we're going to be held accountable to based off of that defined schedule. And then they'll automatically be able to get this reporting based off of the asset purchase price, the defined useful life in years, when it was acquired, and whatever depreciation method is selected to be used, whether double declining or the standard straight line method. And I am gonna pause here for any questions or feedback from the group. Julie, we'll definitely see if we can let the marketing team know. We're in logistics operations, so they don't listen to us too much when it comes to suggestions, but
Yeah, how much is that a problem at Nabisco or at Mondelez? People just stealing food. Um, like
It's a big
it's
enough
not.
problem that we just give it away because we know better.
Yeah, it's not so much a problem because we do have waste with inbounds coming in from all over the country and across the border too. So oftentimes, right, we have 12 packs of something. So if any more than 2 out of 12 or 1 out of 6 is damaged, we're not going to send that to a customer. So it becomes a free
oh
package,
wow,
10 or less.
that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
no.
feel like there's been more like I haven't seen a lot of mobile demos. I feel like there's been at least my limited time hanging out with folks in our community. There's been more challenges with with using mobile. Did you guys experience any of those same challenges with Quickbase Mobile, and how did you sort of work through it? Because I think a lot of customers have stayed away from using mobile.
Kim, you want to take this?
Yeah, happy to talk through it. I mean, there's always constraints. We didn't we knew that there was capability. I've had Quickbase Mobile on my phone for 5 years at this point, but we only shipped out tablets to our branches pretty much this time last year because of the improvements that were made. If you haven't tried mobile like recently and seen all of the updates, I would highly recommend it. The thing that really unlocked it for us was the new dashboards, the new like all of the updates that they're making. You can see we're using the new grid edit report styles. All of these things are having this kind of like compounding effect. And for us, like a lot of the hurdles that we had 2 years ago kind of went away this time last year. And then every month it's pretty much just like hey, we no longer have to do this weird workaround.
Hmm.
Like we can find a better way to do it. So there's a little bit of that. There's still, there's always something to improve. But we try to kind of build our process around the constraints that we have. And then to be honest, the alternative for us is paper and Excel files, and we're not willing to go back to that anymore.
Sure. Are you guys is there fast field usage with like, do you have like offline needs where people are having to use like that barcode scanning and OCR recognition?
So right now we don't have fast field. We just use Quickbase Mobile.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's use cases that we could find for it, but we found that the native capability has gotten us. We still have a big pipeline of stuff that we want to build before we even
And I mean, your team is all they're online, like where they're going to be tracking stuff, they're online. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
so from our drivers who leave the branch and are out, they all have phones with them, so they're always connected. And there's a couple other apps that we would love to get rid of eventually when we come up with a solution potentially with Quickbase apps. There's another solution that Cam actually developed that's really cool, which is a way for drivers to check their schedule every morning. It connects to our routing app, and they're able to also sign in with Secure Link and just enter in their employee ID, and that's going to show them their schedule and then any notes for their route tomorrow. So it makes it much more dynamic, a lot more user friendly than the current application that they're using. And then from there, they're also able to provide feedback back about specific stores, whether it's window changes, upcoming inventory. So if the store is not going to accept the delivery, so that the branch team supervisors and managers would get that information back as well.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, they're fully connected. And then when Cam enabled all of the warehouse devices, right, we did have a couple of tablets that we were using for our inbound and outbound process in the warehouse, but this just made it so much bigger and better for us. So whether it's the back in the zone of IL6S, the 5S audits that the branches are required to do, which also used to be paper documentation for all the zones and areas every week. That's now all being done digitally and mobily. And when we only used to have maybe four devices in the warehouse, and I don't want to say people were waiting, but there was definitely congestion, right? Now every single device that's connected has the Quickbase application on it. So yeah, no excuses, which has been really awesome to see.
Great.
I'm just curious, like when you're planning to build this type of app where you have to consider a mobile experience and a desktop experience, how are you approaching it in terms of planning it all out? What are the things that you would recommend to do to help people that are considering doing kind of like this hybrid application experience?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think in some cases it's much easier from the Mondelez perspective. I'll start with there first because we know how much our end users love Quickbase. So it's like when we release something coming out on Quickbase, we know, or they all know that it's going to be better than whatever they're doing today. So we no longer have an adoption problem with this population of 2,000 plus individuals when a Quick-based application is rolling out. We actually end up having a problem with too many people wanting to pilot it, rather. But I think in general, when planning for mobile, I think one of the key things to think about is less is more. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to use like the mobile action button rather than just a list of things that you could do. I think two buttons seeing on a mobile screen, even if there's more later, and I think that's the same logic that people you in companies use when it comes to forms and reports. So maybe that's one of the other things, maybe adding a different page on the form when we're doing an audit, because I think just landing on a page and seeing 10 different things that you have to fill out can definitely get overwhelming. It's like it's paper again at that point. So just creating that experience where maybe it's four things, jump to the next, and then four things, it just makes it a lot more user friendly. And then from the visualization and dashboard perspective, I think it's kind of the same from the desktop view. Colors are always going to be helpful indicators, and you should be able to click on everything and anything to go to drill down into that report from there as well.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I think like a year and a half ago, another reason why we didn't roll out mobile was just because as like the person who owned a lot of apps, I did not want to have multiple forms and multiple dashboards for all these different things and tweak them every time we made a change. But now like the barrier is so low because the new forms automatically convert really nicely into mobile. You don't have to do anything different. Your dashboards, like there's some tweaks that you can do to make them look a little bit better on mobile, but for the most part, if you open the Quickbase app, if you haven't used it, and you look at your existing apps and you've got some of you use the new dashboards and you use the new reports, it probably is going to look like 95% of the way there. So you really don't even have to think about it that much. The last piece is just for us, it's like, design thinking kind of approach where if we're going to build for somebody who's a warehouse employee, we'd like to have some experience walking in their shoes a little bit, going out and trying to think through, okay, this is where they're going to get annoyed. If I was in their role, I'd get annoyed, and try to tweak it from there.
Awesome. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Great approach. Any other questions? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say we could dive as nitty gritty or show you the back end.
Yeah, I was actually I was thinking we'd love to take a quick look at the back end just to, because that's what people really get juiced up about here too.
Sure. Let me open this real quick and I'll share my screen.
And Julie's asking both of you if you'll be at Empower this year in Houston.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll find a way to get there.
Yeah, we're hoping to present, but either way, we'll definitely be there. I can't miss it. It's in Houston this year, and I'm in Dallas. And just because it's in Texas doesn't mean it's close, just 4 hours away from me. But I will definitely be there, and Cam will too.
Yeah. Also willing. I mean, we're more than happy to connect with anybody pretty much at any point. We're really passionate about this stuff. So,
Cam, where are you based?
Oh, I'm based in Atlanta, and I keep
Okay.
missing the Atlanta Qrew Meetups, and I feel bad. So I gotta make it a priority.
No problem. We'll have plenty more.
Right. So up here, I'm opening up the tables, and you can ignore this AI data buffers. It was one of the final things I was thinking of adding in yesterday, but I was like, you know what? I don't want to risk it with a live demo. But this is just using Quickbase's AI functionality within the pipeline. And one of the things we'll add prior to submitting it to the exchange if it gets approved. But being able to give recommendations based off of the asset statuses, the utilization of the assets, and what's going on. So still working on it. Not ready to show yet, but that's what that table is, if anybody's wondering. But starting from the top, obviously locations. Whenever we build apps, and we learned this very early with such a large organization, it needs to be scalable, right? So making it as flexible as possible, where if we add or remove a location, it's not going to be a workaround. So I think that's one of the most basic things, setting up the framework of the application to ensure that it's scalable and can grow from there. And Kim could tell you that when I first started, because I was introduced to Quickbase first at Mondelez. So when I first started building, I had all these cross app relationships, didn't really know what I was doing, but it got really ugly really fast, and learned my lesson from there. So pipelines are definitely the way to connect different applications together.
Yeah,
So
I just put it in the chat, but also just like we have a locations tab in almost every app, and it has like we call it our branch, but each location and then the user group that is associated with that. So that way we can do that if folks are probably familiar with cascading permissions, but like when you log in, you only see the sites that you have access to, and it's like one of the best features in Quickbase, I think.
yeah, absolutely amazing when it comes to reporting too, and the notification subscription reports, etc. One of the big problems we had, and I think we definitely still have it in some areas that haven't quite adopted Quickbase. And when I say areas, I'm more so mean functions. So it's used in like finance right now. It's used in overall operations. We have a couple of applications with critical inventory, so like liquidation and donation related. But in the functions where it hasn't really touched, there's often sending out reports to everybody. So it might be a long or a pretty big Excel file, in the text or body of the email, please review and action on it if needed. So really just wasting everybody's time if you're not on that report, but you're having to open it up, look for your location or your name to see if it even applies to you. But one of the other best features, I think there's a lot of best features in Quickbase, but one of my other favorite features is the exception reporting, where you're only going to get an email or notification if whatever action applies to you and you need to take action, which I know a lot of people love. So um, different reporting. One of our inventory compliance reports that we have, which was the first app that Cam made for Mondelez in Quickbase. Uh, it was a process that had to be reviewed every single Monday, but now it's only got to be reviewed by the branch manager if it's over a certain threshold, or if they have any discrepancies, rather than the way that we were doing it before. So a lot of time savings, a lot less email, a lot less headaches overall. So um, I think some of these tables are pretty self-explanatory. The service providers, I mean, I'll jump into it, but just a list of all of the service providers that we have. So this is all dummy data, capturing different formulas for total equipment downtime when it was initially put out of service and then when it came back into service. So yeah, a lot of the time really was just putting in some dummy data, and thanks to Esther for sharing a way to easily populate some dummy data for us. But yeah, that's a pretty basic table. But I think probably what everybody wants to see is maybe the app diagram. Is that probably the best way to show, or is it better to
Yeah.
talk through?
Yeah, I think you like having a visual would be
Okay,
great.
sure. Let me- And this isn't organized yet, so I wasn't planning for this part yet. But we'll say that we have it set up with asset types, and each asset type has many assets. So an asset type, for example, is a piece of MHE equipment, which is material handling equipment, and those are forklifts, etc. But then we'll break it down to the different types of forklifts. So we have stand-ups, sit-downs, walk-behinds, etc. So and then also we have vehicles, which we captured as tractors and then trailers and dollies. So like the big rig units or the parts of a semi-trailer. So yeah, each asset or each asset type has many assets. And then from there, there's service requests and audits that are child tables of our assets. Um, and then let me close this out and make this a little bigger. We'll hide this for now, but obviously the employees belong to locations, and the assets are also assigned to employees. So this is, I think, an optional feature. We don't need to have asset owners for each individual asset because we even put like pieces of technology because we consider like our laptops, keyboards, etc. Even I think we go as far as like chargers to be assets. So when whenever anybody either joins or separates, they know what is where. Right now, it's still being. I think the digital technology side is not being managed in Quickbase, but this will be something that will show in one of the enhancements that we added to this newer application. Then we have the service providers, which are assigned to locations, and then also to the assets as well too. And I'm trying to clean this up as much as possible, but it's a little hard to do with all the different tables. But in our company, at least in Mondelez, in some areas we have the same service provider across many branch locations, or we'll have like a national service provider. And they'll be the one contact for many of those branch locations. But in others, it's just the local area. They have their own service provider. But an example of that is like Penske, which they handle our truck service. Probably 80, 90% of our branch locations leverage Penske. Some others will use Ryder, but there's different local contacts at Penske, which is why we have the service providers roll up to the locations.
Any questions about this structure, or like some of the like cascading permissions, or how to convert like a dashboard to mobile? Curious.
Yeah, I was curious about that. I was like, so how do you take this and turn it into a mobile? But I like all the different many to many relationship. I was curious, like what I was guessing what had multiple relationships.
Yeah, yeah, it's mostly assets. Almost everything is tied to the assets. And then yeah, cascade from there usually.
Makes sense.
And then we'll open up the asset types and we've also learned this from a bunch of failures in Quickbase applications, but just the relationships and for example, like and maybe this isn't always going to be the case and can always get a little bit more complicated. Like for example, we could put the model in here for the asset type and then further separate it. So if for example, we have a Crown, which is a brand that makes the MHE equipment lift trucks. And then we could also have rider lift trucks, and we could put in different purchase prices for these to further um, uh, segment them to get an exact accurate. But for the purposes of this demo app, we did not do that. So we could have individual purchase prices for all of them, but obviously this then becomes uh, a related field going into that specific asset. So if for example we have um, 100 tractors listed here. For the purpose of this sample or demo, they are all going to show the $225,000. But what we would really use it, or how we would really use it at Mondelez is, okay, this 2023 model was $180,000. This 2025 model is $225,000. And then even further from there, this 2025 model with lane awareness or whatever active features costs a little bit more, and then tag that price to it from there. And this is also where we capture the depreciation details. So all the same for those specific assets. So the salvage value, expected lifetime, and then uh, yeah, purchase price relating to depreciation and whichever depreciation model that we want to use, whether straight line or double declining, is also captured in the asset types table. And yeah, I think asset audits are pretty self-explanatory, very similar to the service request. And then we just use the resources table, which we've seen a lot before, just to make it pop a little bit more with images and graphics so we can relate it back to the different specific assets and asset types. But any other questions related to this app or features?
No, like what, and then what button do you turn on to make sure it's all ready for mobile?
So right now it is, but we did have
Oh,
a button here, which is just this is just a dashboard button to just transition to a different view
I
within
guess
mobile. But
the
sorry.
short answer is there's no button actually. How it works is on a dashboard, it reads it it shows the exact same reports, the exact same widgets, and all of that stuff. And the way that it goes is it reads it from left to right. And so it will display, if you think about it on mobile, it's just vertical. But
yeah.
the furthest left report or the furthest left widget is going to show at the top. The next one over will show it below that, and so on and so forth. And then you go to a new line and it continues down that path. And so you can choose to either, when you go into the role settings as Kojo is showing, you can have your home page, your home dashboard show like normal, exactly what it typically is, and it'll just read it left to right and put them in that order on the mobile device. Or you can specify a different dashboard that Kojo just did that would be designed specifically for mobile, which is super useful. Sometimes you want to lay something out on a desktop that would, not in the order that you would want it shown on mobile.
Exactly.
And so to do that, you go into roles and switch that dashboard. And then Kojo, if you go to app settings and then pages, I'm sure everyone's familiar with this, but to create like a different page or a different dashboard that you might want to use just to display different things, you just go to new page, and then we love the dashboard feature. So that's what we typically rely on.
Nice. Very cool. I'm just very excited about the fact that we can finally show a mobile Quickbase use case, because we've been wanting to do this for a long time. And I think everyone's just curious about like how hard is it to actually get up and out to, for usage for the end user. I think it's also awesome to hear you got over 2,000 plus end users that are digging this and want to be a part of all the awesome things you're doing there at Mondelez and Levery. And I just love all the colors that you're using. It just makes it fun. And now I'm hungry for Triscuits because all of a sudden I'm going to put it on my grocery list. Any other questions from the audience or any feedback? I agree, Laura. Excellent demo. I know Paulina, she's logging in from Bulgaria today, but I also wanted to get your feedback of what you thought you saw, or if you have any updates for the crew.
Yeah, thanks, Cam. Kojo, this is a really great demo, and for me it was really exciting because usually I get to see the problems. I don't get to see it actually working. When something is working, we don't hear about it. So thanks for sharing. I really love all the love for Quickbase Mobile that you have, and I'm glad that you managed to utilize the new forms and the dashboards experience in such a great way. So yeah, and the demo was great. As I said, really brave because you had mobile devices and desktop devices. So yeah, I know the struggle.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank God. That was great. I think that might have been the first time I've seen mobile like in a demo on a Qrew Meetup. So yeah, it was really cool to see.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to
really
Kojo. Kojo basically built the whole thing. I just kind of sat there and got to talk about it. But yeah, I
Cam
would
gets
say,
to do it on the daily, and I don't really anymore. So this is kind of like a release for me. So.
yeah. But the mobile stuff is like, don't be afraid of it. It's so, for anyone on the call who hasn't tried it out, or you don't have to do anything to make it work. That's the trick. You can, once you start using it, you may find like, oh, I want a different dashboard for this, or show it a little different on mobile, but it's already there. So don't be afraid to jump in.
That's a great tip. I agree. I was like, what do you push? What do you do? Nothing. You do nothing. You just download the app and then it shows up. What? Like, that's awesome. So yeah, I'm excited to see. It sounds like there's a couple of folks that are interested in connecting with you to learn more about this. Maybe they're looking for some free crackers. I don't know. But either way, I'm really thankful for Kojo and Cam to be here to share this. And we did talk about this when we were walking through doing our presentation about, how's this going to look? And if you can't run the mobile presentation, we could do video, but I'm excited that it all came together just in time. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I also want to thank Paulina for being here with us to see all the awesome work that the team is doing. And I hope that everyone has time to go to the product